crafty friends, welcome back to Expressions in Journaling, the craft show where I help you to use up all of your craft supplies with my favorite hobby of junk journaling. This is episode 4. In previous episodes, I taught you how to make a collage tag, and we learned a new vocabulary word, ephemera. Ephemera are the pieces that usually were thrown away, items like tickets, menus, wrappers, and people collect them as souvenirs. Junk journalers like to make their own, and so I've been doing a series on using up junk mail envelopes. Today we're going to continue that, and I'm going to show you how to make a piece of ephemera called a journaling card. A journaling card is a decorative card that has space on it for journaling. And journaling is so important to include in your hobby, just to write down memories, lists, even signing your name is a nice unique detail that you can add to your journals. So the supplies today are very simple. You just need some junk mail, and I've found some beautiful decorative envelopes lately. You need some glue, scissors, a ruler and pencil if you want to measure, and some decorative scraps. So let's get started. So today what we're going to do is we're going to utilize some of the ideas and techniques that we used in previous weeks when we made our decorative pockets. So as you can see, this envelope has the open window, so I found a beautiful picture here of a teapot. I get lots of my images from magazines, and I think we're in a digital age, but I love looking through colorful magazines. And this is a picture that I cut out several years ago, and as I was preparing for today, I felt the blue color really set off this envelope. So what you want to do is you want to put whatever image you have, and you could use an envelope that doesn't have the clear window. That's not a problem. You're going to put that in so that it's visible, and I've already measured and cut and folded this so it looks nicely in our window here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a piece of cardstock, and this actually matches the theme. I'm doing this because this envelope is quite flimsy, it's foldable, and the idea of a journal card is you want it sturdy enough so that you can write on it. And I'm just going to stick this behind. And if you wanted to be really fancy, we probably could make this so that it had a side pocket and the card was removable. But for this particular one, I think we're going to stay simple. So I've put the image inside the envelope, and now we're going to glue it up using our glue stick. So journaling cards are about the size of an index card. Of course, it depends on the size of the journal that you're creating. And what I'm doing here is we have the image on the front, so I'm going to create the space to journal on the back. And so I've coffee dyed my paper ahead of time. Coffee dyeing is a really fun activity. At my house, I wake up early in the morning and I make a pot of coffee. This morning I was up around 3 o'clock, but my husband and son work from home, so after I have my coffee, I leave some for them, but inevitably I come home and there's leftover coffee. And that is really fun to pour it over a stack of coffee paper and get all kinds of, you can see here that this has different splatter marks and so forth. And then I let it dry. Sometimes in the winter, I'll actually cook it in the oven. But in the spring and summer, you can just put it out on a cooling rack and it will air dry. So junk journalists like to achieve that vintage look by coffee dyeing their paper. So I'm going to glue this on the back so that there's space for writing. And like I said, it's a good idea to write something on your journal or your ephemera. I usually include words, positive words, affirming words, numbers, but you could sign your name or date the piece, and then that way you can see when you created things and how you've changed as an artist. So I'm just securing this on the back. And I actually inked the edge when I was at home preparing this, and I've left a little bit of border of the envelope. Okay, so now there's a spot where you can write on the journal card. And now we're just going to embellish the front, and the idea with junk mail is that they do have lots of advertising and words. So that kind of jumpstarts your creativity because you have to figure out what items you're going to show and how you can incorporate it into your art. So what I chose to do is there's a lot of writing up here, and so I found a piece of decorative cardstock that I'm going to glue down over those words. And you could also paint over it, maybe use fabric. We can find all kinds of ways to do that, but I wanted this blue color to blend in. And again, I inked the edges at home. I like using the ink, but you don't have to do that, and you could substitute something else. Like paint, you could just write on the edge, make a faux stitching mark. Okay, so I've covered that up, and then we have another area on the bottom. So I want to cover that up. And you know that I like to have things balanced, and I like my music notes. So I think I'm going to do that. Then I have these words. I just was talking about journaling, and actually this sentiment was attached to the teacup picture. I think you could purchase this, but I like this idea, blue and white treasures. So we're going to stick this up here. I'm just looking at where it's going to fit. And I have some ribbon embellishment for the bottom. So at this point, I'm not gluing things down. I'm just kind of rearranging things. And like I said, I prepared this beforehand, but sometimes it does take a few minutes to decide how much you're going to use and where you need to cover things up. So this was pretty easy to cover up the corner here. So I'm fortunate with that. And then you know that my other junk journaling rule is that always use more, make lots of layers. So I have these flowers, and I think I'll add those in the corner here. So I think I'm pretty happy with this layout, so now I'm just going to glue it down. Oops. Okay, so I want to cover up that spot. And I just tore this. If you want to be more precise, you can use scissors. You can use decorative scissors. If your style is more minimalist, you can incorporate that as well. There's no right way to do this. Okay, and then I'm going to glue down my words. Okay. And I'm going to use my craft glue for these other items that are a little bit trickier, and always my glue doesn't always like to work when I want it to. Okay. Oops. And for right now, it's hanging off the edge. I might go back when it's dry and trim that off, but you can even have it three-dimensional like that. That doesn't bother me. And then I'm going to stick a flower on here because more is more. More is better. Let's see. Whoops. And I've done this before. This glue dries clear so that if you drip it everywhere, you don't have a problem. So that came together really nice and easy. That was really fun. So we have a journaling card with a decorative image on the front, and then space on the back for journaling. So I hope that you will try this at home and use up some of your junk mail envelopes. So the next idea I have for using up junk mail is we're going to take this envelope and we're going to make a little booklet with it. So red is my favorite color, and so when I saw this envelope come in the mail, I made sure that I saved it so I could use it for junk journaling. And you know, it's so creative. It has these cute little spring drawings on here and the little curly cues on the back. So we're going to, again, use similar techniques that we've used in the past. I want to use this window here. So I found some patterned paper that has a little bit of the red and the flower theme, so I thought it coordinated. So the first thing we're going to do is just stick that paper inside. And I've already cut and measured it, and so it will look like this. And we're just going to seal that into the envelope. So for this particular one, I am using a longer envelope. You could use a plain one without a window. I'll also show you later an example of a more boxy envelope that I used. The possibilities are really endless, and when something catches your eye, it will probably inspire you to try something different, your own spin on this activity. All right, so what I'm going to introduce today is washi tape, and I think a lot of it originates in Japan, and it's just decorative tape. It's a little less sticky than Scotch tape. It's more like masking tape, I guess, and it comes off easily. You can tear it, and I'm going to use this to cover up these words here. So you can see that it has lots of writing, so I'm going to cover over this. And washi tape is so much fun. It comes in all kinds of colors and designs and widths. And so let me cover over all of this here. And if we need to, we can even go over that with paper. But I thought I would try that to cover up some of the wording. So what I'm doing here is I'm making a booklet. So I'm folding this, and because I liked the floral design, I'm going to keep this as the front, but really we could also find a way to hold it so that we could see the decorative window here. So this is something that's your choice, and I'm choosing to have the pretty color on the back just because I like this decoration. So what I'm going to do is I want to place my elements so that we can still see this decorative drawings here, but we want to get rid of the words. So I'm going to use this strip of music to cover up the words, and before I place it down, I am going to add some distress ink. I didn't get a chance to do that at home. And this is a water-based ink that reacts with water. Right now I'm just using it to define the edges, and I think it makes it pop out from the background a little bit. But also it has lots of effects that you can use for coloring paper, and perhaps we will do that in a future episode. So I'm adding some ink, and I'm going to put that there. And then in my original design, I also had this I cut a scrap of this decorative paper, which matches the paper on the inside here. And I kind of have that still in a stamp shape to kind of mimic that. And I believe I also had some little music embellishment because I like it all to match. Maybe I don't need to do that. And then what I'm going to do along the bottom is add some lace. So I think I like that, so I'm going to go ahead and glue that down. So again, for gluing down paper to paper and bigger pieces, glue sticks totally work. And this is craft glue, so it's acid free. That means it's not going to eat away at the paper. And I prefer the permanent glue stick rather than the school washable. I think it lasts a little bit longer. But for the lace here, I think I'm going to use my craft glue because it dries quicker and we can have a little bit finer line. Whoops. So again, this is a great way to use up some scraps that you may have accumulated. I've accumulated a whole bunch. Or it's a way to use up a paper pack that coordinates. So anything goes. And again, I like the layers. I've used paper, washi tape, and lace. But if you want fewer layers, that's fine. I like how we have different textures here with the lace. Okay, so this is a cute front of our booklet, and it's going to open up. And so what we're going to do is I have decorative paper. This was in the same kit as the paper that's inside the windows. And just to be cohesive, I am going to ink these edges in red. Originally, I wanted to keep those curly cues, but I decided that I'm going to cover them up with paper. But if your envelope doesn't have an inside design and all the lettering, you wouldn't necessarily have to cover it up. So as always, art is a personal stylistic choice, so do what you like. And inking is optional, but I do like to add it. And in this case, I think it ties all the different shades of red together. So we have quite a few going on here. Okay, so we're going to make a booklet out of this envelope, and so these pages on the inside represent kind of the decorative end papers that you would find in a book. So I'm going to glue these in. And when I put them in, I want to err on the side of having it closer to the outside edge because we're going to glue, stitch in the pages on that middle fold, and that will eliminate some of the bulk. So you want to keep it to the outer edge here. Okay, and you can see we still have a little bit, I like to keep a little edge showing. And now we'll glue this one down. Oh, did I do it right? I had it at one point so the polka dots matched, but that's okay. So as you can see, this is a very similar technique to what we did with the envelope pockets. We're putting something decorative that shows in the clear window. We're covering over the words. And we're making something new out of the envelope. Okay, so this worked out nicely. You can see my fold is going to be here, and so I left some margin for when we stitch in the pages later. This is looking really good. And so now I just want to make sure that we keep track of when we're flipping this over and gluing things down. I've done it before where I've glued things upside down. So it's always good to check the orientation of your work. So here my flowers are up. So I'm going to flip it over and do some work for the back cover. And so I'm going to use similar elements like we did on the front. So we have some writing here. I have lace. I think what I did this time was I put the lace in the middle. So that covers up all the writing that's there. It keeps it cohesive because we have this paper pattern, we have washi tape visible, the lace and the music. So I like that. I'm going to add some ink here. So this is really fun, and it actually comes together quite quickly. And we're using up our scraps and junk mail. So I'm going to glue down the music. And then I'm going to use craft glue to glue down the lace. Might need some more on top here. Okay. So I'm happy with the cover so far. And so now we're going to add a new step. So we have our cover, we open it up, and we have our back cover. So what we're going to do now is we're going to choose some papers that we're going to have as the pages inside the book. And so I kept the coordinating papers from the kit. So I have some polka dot. I have this, it's like graph paper, and it matches the background of the flowers. And I also brought some coffee dyed paper because I wasn't sure how many pages we needed. So I'm going to use, I don't even know if I need to use my trimmer. What we're going to do first is we're going to measure the piece of paper so that it fits across here and inside. So I'm going to use my pencil and I'm going to make a mark right here and right here. So I think I can actually tear this. I'm going to tear it because this is a junk journal. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I just tore that off, and even though it's going to be a little bit shorter and thinner than the other pages, I think I am going to include this as well. So they don't all have to be the same size and shape. You can still include them. And again, I'm just using my ruler to tear. So, and I'm going to erase this little pencil mark that's bothering me. Okay, so I have 1, 2, and then I think we can do one more out of this. So this one's already the right length. And we'll put a mark right here. Okay, and of course I'm going to save my scraps. So here I have enough for these pages in the book. But again, just for continuity and to show you what you can use anything to put in your book, and you can do as many or as few pages as you want. Where these are similar, I'm going to layer them so that we have the graph side, then a blank side, then the graph. And on these pages, I'm just going to crop it like this. So notice it's a little bit skinnier, but that is not a problem. That doesn't bother me at all. We like variety in size with junk journaling. It keeps things interesting. And I think I'll do one more. Let's see. So this one, I'm going to make a little bit skinnier. Might not even be straight. I'll put the scrap aside. And I'm going to, overlap these so that the pages that are the same aren't in order. And then I'm going to take some coffee dyed paper. Let me get one that one has. Okay, and I'll do the same thing with the coffee dyed paper. I think I'll do 2 of those. So again, this is super easy. I'm just eyeballing. I'm using my metal ruler to trim it. And this is going to make the pages in our little booklet. So this would be a cute little shower gift, a memento, even, you could make a graduation gift, right? It's graduation season, it's wedding season. And so you can take an envelope and then you could choose colors, that match the occasion. And so here, nicely, see how I alternated them? And now what we're going to do is we're just going to fold each piece of paper in half. And these are going to be the pages of our book. So as I'm folding them, I'm just nesting them in the same order so that we'll be ready to go. So this is the journaling, the bookmaking part of junk journaling. Okay, almost done here. Okay. So this is the idea that we're going to have these pages inside the book. So now we need to do the book binding, which is actually quite easy. Don't panic. So I'm going to be using an awl today, and this has a very, very sharp point. So be very careful and make sure you're wearing shoes because I have dropped it on the floor and wrist injury. And you can find these online. They also call them paper piercing tools. And really, for if you're just pushing through an envelope, you probably could use even an opened up paper clip or something. You can find something, you need something to pierce through the layers. And then I got a book binding kit on Amazon. It was pretty inexpensive, and so I just have a large tapestry needle, and I have some thread. So this is waxed linen thread, but you can use baker's twine, string. A lot of people use embroidery floss in colors to match. So for this particular one, I'm just going to tie it in real quick. So we just need about 2 lengths of the booklet, and I'm going to cut that here, and I'm going to attempt to thread my needle. Maybe I should have done that at home beforehand. Okay, my needle is threaded, and so what we need to do is we have our pages in the book, and sometimes this is very thin, it's only a few pages, but if you get more pages, you might want to clip them together just so they don't move. And you want to make sure everything's folded, okay? And again, if you have pages that have writing on them, you just want to always check one more time to make sure the orientation is correct so that your lettering or something isn't upside down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 2 holes in the middle here. So we're going to make guide holes with the awl, 1, 2. So sometimes it's easier to keep it folded so it goes right through the spine. And you want to make sure you don't have your hand right here so you don't stab yourself. So here's 1 hole and the other. So that was really easy. So really you don't need to get an awl. Just anything sharp and pointy will work. And you could probably use the needle to do it first if you didn't have the awl. So I just want to show you where I put the needle holes here and here. Okay, this is real simple. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the needle and thread it through. And again, sometimes it does help if you keep it folded. It helps to keep that seam. Okay, and then what you want to make sure on this side is make sure that you hang on to the tail and the tail doesn't go through. All right, so we have our tail here. And then this can be a little bit tricky bringing it back through the hole. So again, I'm keeping it folded. Okay, this is where you might see me struggle a little bit, but that's okay. We can do this. And sometimes I go back with the hole, so that's what I'm doing here. This is helping to align it a little bit. Okay, so I have my tail, and I'm taking my needle and going through the outside and pushing through. Oh. Okay, so I made it through the seam here. Okay, I did it. All right, no problem. Okay, and so then you can take the needle off, and what I'm going to do here is just tie these together. So this is just a simple stitch. Later on I'll show you a more complicated, the 3 pamphlet hole stitch, and that's if you have a thicker cover and more pages, but for this cute little booklet, we only need to knot it. Oh, I didn't do it very tight, did I? Okay. So you can have a choice now. You can leave these dangle, and lots of people add charms or beads to them. And so that's a fun thing to do. If you don't want it, you can clip it short. And now we have a little booklet. And like I said, we used junk mail as the cover and just an envelope. And this is a quick and easy thing that you can do. So if you don't have a card or a gift, you could probably throw this together and bring it to a party this weekend and impress everyone you know. So I hope you try this at home and enjoy using up your scraps. Thank you.